Aloha, everyone. I am your host, Jason Schwartz, here at the Neutral Zone, Maui, neutralzone.com. Here we are right on the cusp of the end in Maui of a mask mandate. This COVID thing has been a full 2 years. In fact, I went to a men's gathering in early March and then everything closed down. But things are kind of opening up here again. And although you see me with guests of all kinds, today I have an interesting guest. You're saying you've already probably seen him because he's there on the screen. I have to point. Oh, this way. That's Shelem Flemons, Pastor Shelem Flemons. Yes. Welcome to our show.
Aloha and thank you.
Now, you say that aloha like a mainlander.
Meaning, I've only been to Hawaii one time, so
well, we're gonna have to get you back here. When were you here?
Oh, it's been several years ago, maybe 10 years ago. Yeah.
Well, I must tell you, the thing that hasn't changed here, it is still beautiful. And as the mainland keeps, I want to say, degrading, let us say the dish is running away with the spoon. Environmentally, it's going wild and people are fighting in ways, and that may be happening here, but that's not the universe I live in. I'm in a neutral zone, which means here at the neutral zone, we listen to everything, and our goal is to see how it all can work together, you know, on an island, self-sustainability and all that. And I've been telling people here that if you want to get the dollars up per the volume of visitor, we need to develop an industry here that would lend itself, like retreats and healing. And they all say, oh, yes, yes, yes. And as I've been looking at all that, I came upon you, Shelem. Shelem is an interesting name. I'd say, where did it come from? Was it a creation or was it from a...
My parents were divorced when I was very, very small, but my father probably influenced the name. He was a minister, so we're pretty sure that he took a Bible name, Shalom, you know, that type of thing, and pronounced it differently. But Dad, as I was growing up, he knew a lot of polysyllabic words, and a 4 or 5 year old doesn't really understand those things. So when I would ask him about my name, you know, he spoke Greek to me. So I really don't know what he was really thinking. But you know, in the 48 states here, when I go down south, I tell people it's Shelem, like what you do with the peanuts, because they have that southern drawl. And they say, oh, Shelem, yeah, that's what we do with the peanuts. So anyway, that helps the Southerners anyway, but it doesn't work everywhere.
You're easy to look up on the internet. Just put the Google, put Shelem Flemons, and you're like up there. Yeah. So I hope people will jump and find you. You'll give what's your web address that you like to use? Yeah, it's totally different.
It's torso, but it's torsoe.org. Okay. And we basically operate a wellness retreat. It is a small retreat. It's also our home, and we treat the sick with natural remedies, cleansing, spiritual, you know, helping their spiritual walk with God and those types of things. And we've had great success with a lot of the chronic diseases that plague most people in this world.
Let me ask you a funny question, Shelem. This is a funny question, but it almost like ties it back to what I'm talking here with the Maui folks. If you took yourself here and I don't want to say clone yourself, let us say that you're going to train people here to be able to deliver the kind of treatment package that might be a great retreat, maybe for the people in your area coming as a visit as part of what you're doing there. Sure. And or something. So that model might really work very well for Maui, right?
There should be several of these types of places in every state of the union. So we are here to help spread this. And, you know, there's very few even in the 48 states. But that's one of the reasons why we moved to this area. There are a few of them in the South, but no one was in this mid-Atlantic area. So that's why we moved here, but we're small. If God opens up a door for us to get larger property and we can have a larger expanded operation, so be it. But we take
or you could work in concert. Imagine you working in concert with a large hotel or condominium places here to be able to bring people over and do your retreat here as a special thing. Yeah. That would help expand what you're doing, and you'd be able to be teaching people, because I'm going to give them the punchline. To me, what really grabbed me was HHO. What's that? Hydrogen. Right. Hear that, Maui people? People have heard of hydrogen and they think about how it might be used for agriculture, and they've heard about it for fuel, but healing and the benefits are off the chart. And maybe you're going to explain it here, but the difference between hydrogen, which is a healing blessing, and HHO is a giant step. It's like a quantum leap into healing.
Well, if I can say this just to support what you're saying, that I've been doing what I do for about 30 years. And in my 30 years of experience, I've only had 3 what I call game changers, 3 game changers. Of course, we promote a plant-based diet, natural healing, that kind of thing. And so when we first started, the first game changer was juice fasting, okay? More people got better. That's how we define a game changer. Significantly more people got better faster once we added that component. So juice fasting was a game changer. Then we started doing some form of other forms of cleansing, like colon irrigation, certain things like that. Those were game changers. And those were early in our ministry. And so I have not had another game changer, although people get well. You know, we have a whole lifestyle plan called Live Free. It's Love God. It's an acronym. Love God, include temperance, vital water, eat healthy, fresh air, rest, exercise, and enjoy sunlight. So we can do a lot of that in Hawaii, right? So that's the Live Free lifestyle, the Live Free acronym. But bottom line is that about a year or so ago, we started introducing hydrogen. And because a lot of people's condition has lots of inflammation involved in that, inflammation and those inflammatory processes keep the healing from taking place, then we were able to have them breathe hydrogen and drink hydrogenated water, and people could get well, where before it was like it was a stalemate. They couldn't break through. So all of our guests, and we only have 2 rooms here for guests, just so you know how small we are. It's also our home, and we would love the idea if God opened that door for us to collaborate, expand, whatever. That's totally fine with that. Love Hawaii. Like I said, only been there one time, but I think it'll be a great place to do this type of work. It has just built-in beauty, built-in sunlight, lots of good things there. So basically, hydrogen is powerful. And also, if some of your viewers might be familiar with Rumble, rumble.com, it's a platform similar to YouTube, it's not censored as it relates to if people have alternative narratives as it relates to certain health topics.
What you're saying is that, for example, in the world that has been restricted, all the claims of fake news and things and things like that, that regular media is like so afraid, and they pull things off that talk about any alternatives that might be not the narrow narrative of health that they're trying to prescribe right now, right? So Rumble is one of these. I know that former President Trump used it as an outlet, and people that want to talk about things about vaccines, but it's a beautiful open platform for all of us to use for everything. So
exactly. Great. And I just wanted to mention that we have a channel there. So, and I only have 2 videos right now on the channel, but the 2 videos were made because there were 2 people who they say they felt like they were dying, but they had COVID pneumonia, could barely breathe. And when I first talked to them, they were like, my address is, that was, it was really, really bad. And the bottom line is, within hours breathing hydrogen, one of them could sing, the other one, the next day, she was doing housework. And so they agreed to do an interview with me, and those interviews are on Rumble. So I think it's Torso 1 is the channel name.
TORSOE and the number one.
Yeah, I think it's Torso One.
No, so that's not a web address, but you go to rumble.com and then go to the channel.
Search to that channel, and those are the two videos in the channel. And to me, that's significant when you consider the fact that, you know, they're talking about grants of billions and billions of dollars. Man, if we could take that money and put hydrogen generators in every home or every other home, you know,
Right.
in the United States, you know, that would resolve everything. Because I don't know if you're familiar with the Pfizer data that just got, you know, released. Pfizer wanted to hold that data for 75 years. A judge required them to give it. So their first, data dump, or whatever you want to call it, they have better names for it, revealed that in 3 months, over 1,200 people died of the vaccine. Now, we're not into anti-vaccination campaigns. As a matter of fact, we're the author. We're writing a book, my wife and I, called The Biblical Booster, Boosting the Immunity of Our Global Community. So instead of being anti-vax, we're just boosting people's immune systems. That's what we're about. But we have to talk about the narrative, that popular narrative from time to time, because that's the only thing people know about. So if they could realize, hey, there's a better way, we can build up our immune systems. And so hydrogen helps that, a good lifestyle helps with that. And that's what we're all about.
Well, and you're hearing me. That's I had a specific thing and I chose what the doctor said. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Build up your natural immunity. I had a pacemaker put in 2012. And when I did, they said to me, you know, the best thing for you is build up your own immune system. Don't screw with anything else. So when they said, they started asking me to think, I had a real reason, and I have not taken. I'm what they call 100%er, I'm happy to say. That means I 100% didn't get it and I didn't take any vaccines, but I stayed isolated and such. But I also have a machine that has hydrogen, like you say. I have 2 machines sitting here. That really makes a difference. If I have hydrogen all the time, I'm giving myself an anti-inflammatory, something that improves our immune system. All the things that we talk about, antioxidant. I imagine that's, if I were going to open the door, could you do me a favor for our audience? Give them a little bit of a speech about what this stuff and why, what does it do for us? It's an amazing thing to talk about, but you're my guest and I rather have you say it.
Okay, sure. I'm able to share my screen?
Sure. Let me get it for you here. So as I'm getting that ready.
Okay. So I prepared a little short.
All right.
Piece. Are you able to see it?
I am.
Okay. So basically, this is a hydrogen generator. You see some distilled water. There's a little bubble cup. That's what that is. I don't know if you're seeing my mouse there. And
I am. In fact, I'm seeing everything. I'm seeing your whole screen. It's fine.
Okay. That's great. So basically, we talked a little bit about the fact that God made us to have inflammatory responses. These inflammatory responses are positive. If you get a cut or some injury, inflammation keeps bacteria from spreading. It's a natural protection, but prolonged or excessive inflammation can damage the body. And there are substances called reactive oxygen species. They call them ROS for short. And they're free radicals containing oxygen and other molecules. They serve good purposes in the body. However, when too many of them build up, they do harm. And most of the inflammatory problems that we have, most people with autoimmune diseases, lots of allergies, and just, you know, a lot of pain syndromes, there's excessive amounts of ROS. And all you have to do is type ROS and eczema, ROS, and pick a disease. And
there are some great videos on YouTube that help make it real approachable and understandable.
Right. So the bottom line is, one of the most popular ones is the hydroxyl molecule. Now, this is technically not an hydroxyl molecule. This is a molecule of water. But a hydroxyl molecule, imagine if you took one of those H's off. Of course, I can't do it. I can just...
No, but what you're talking about, OH is losing a hydrogen.
Exactly. So that molecule is very damaging when it's in excess in the body. It's very damaging. It's very unstable, and it tends to create tissue damage. And so the bottom line is when you introduce hydrogen, the hydrogen attaches to these HO or, hydroxyl molecules and turns them into water. So a damaging molecule becomes a water molecule or a hydrating molecule.
And that's the best part of this, that the output is water. You can help your system cleanse, and just really a beautiful thing. And I'm sure that's what you're going to be showing people here. But people can see this is so simple, because when you electrolyze regular water, it changes its configuration into something that is like, I want to say, supercharges your body in being able to get rid of these radicals.
We have concluded that hydrogen is nature's most powerful anti-inflammatory, and a large part of it is because it deals with a lot of these damaging molecules.
And so it's the only one that's it's also the only one that's selective to me, which means just because hydrogen's there, hydrogen combined with anything, but it's like there's a brain inside. It knows when not to also. And that's just a natural process. And I think some people are afraid, that it's going to be like someone says, oh, you do, well, you take the metals out of your system and you're taking everything. You're not just taking part. Hydrogen is it is the most plentiful element in our universe. What a word to say. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'll shut up now.
No problem. So what you're seeing on the screen is a hydrogen molecule. A molecule has to have at least two atoms. So 2 atoms of hydrogen makes a hydrogen molecule. So when you take the machine simply uses, as you said, electrolysis. In other words, is an electrolyte added to distilled water, and that allows electricity to flow through the distilled water. And as electricity flows through the distilled water, it breaks the water molecules up in certain increments and allows the hydrogen, not all at one time, but in increments, to flow out and get pumped out of the machine. So the way we use it in application, we put on a nasal cannula, which is an oxygen tube, and we breathe it. And it has a timer. It can go 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours. You can actually breathe hydrogen all night for 8 hours. And it's very simple maintenance to the machine. But I wanted to bring this out because some of the hydrogen comes in atoms, and some of the hydrogen comes out as molecules, but it's all hydrogen, okay? Here's a picture of distilled water just to emphasize the simplicity of how things go. And basically this next picture, as the hydrogen comes out, there's water in that bubble cup. And if there were any impurities from the electrolyte that would come out, some of them would get caught in the silver bottle. If any escaped, they would get caught in the water a lot, which bubbles, only allowing the pure hydrogen and oxygen, because H2O is water. Some oxygen is even involved, but the main therapeutic agent is hydrogen to come out through a port, which is not shown in this picture. And that's
do you use one bubble cup or two? I find that I use two just to be sure that again, I'm myself.
No problem. We would
as an older person, some of the people around me are sensitive to stuff. So because we put what do we call it? Vinegar, or the equivalent of white vinegar, to neutralize anything that's coming out, or neutralize, if that's the right word here.
Yeah, yours is, it's the technology is the same. We operate a little differently. We use a very, very high quality stone. And so you don't actually have to use two.
Oh,
so
great.
Normally we don't use two, but if a person was concerned, no problem. You can daisy chain these bubble cups. So that's no big deal. Okay.
Well, it's great to hear about how you're doing it. I know that as we're going, people are going to want to find out about this. So we'll make a direct line to you, and I'm going to put up information about how to get in touch with you. They can go to, what's your web address, just so they can at least say torso.
Well, here's the thing, it's torso.org, but you can give them my phone number, because the reality is right now, as a practitioner, we just do word of mouth with this hydrogen generator. So we can show people information and pictures, but right now we don't put it out there in a commercial way.
Okay. Why don't you give the phone number directly to our audience right now?
Sure. So my phone number, you can call me or text me. It's 897-8537. So that's 706-897-8537.
Great. And I imagine
a couple of more pictures. What this is on the screen, it's a little water level indicator. So after about 8 hours, that's going to be empty. You didn't lose all the water. You lost about maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 ounces. And so you add a little bit of water, distilled water that is, back to get it back up to that water level. And then sometimes there'll be a little sticker here. I just, that's a picture of one that I had at the time. And then this picture is, there's a daily maintenance that's you just refilling the bubble cup, adding more hydrogen. This particular picture is what we do twice a month. It's a rinsing of the machine, and it pretty much restores it pretty much back to brand new. It takes out some of the old electrolyte, and you can put some new electrolyte in there, and it's very inexpensive to do so. And that's it. And other than that, that's all it is. So,
well, and as I was watching, I was thinking, oh, I should do it twice a month. Understanding the maintenance of a machine is so important, especially a machine like this, because we know that we're dealing with electricity, and what it does to different things can create corrosion and all kinds of things that don't happen if you appropriately maintain a machine. That's what often I like to make sure I say at least 12 times, if not 100 times, when you tell someone, so they can, this perfect machine. I've watched and seen, when I first saw this machine in a different incarnation, it was sitting in the kitchen of a house I was living with someone for a year and a half. He said it was sitting there. A friend gave it to him and couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. 2 weeks after he got it, it wasn't working. And what it ended up being is exactly that. It was never maintained. And this guy then took it apart and then tried to understand it, then used his mind. He was involved in a text product company, and actually from the ground up made another. In fact, they're selling like $2,500 here. Like this kind of machine I know is, a fraction of that. So people are going to be happy to know that's true. And, this is different than getting it a cup at a time to put hydrogen in water. That's maybe one way, and you get a cup after a while, you drink it, and they did it. And these machines are really outrageously priced. Some of them are multi-level, I think, even, or they do all kinds of things.
And I want to mention, you can hydrogenate water with this as well. And you only have to rinse it twice a month if you're using it for 8 hours a day. Like, there are people that are very sick, and they want to sleep with it. They sleep with it every day. So if you're only using it for an hour or two, breathing it, you wouldn't even have to rinse it that often. But I just wanted to mention that. So I consider it a very low maintenance, but there is some maintenance. It's super easy maintenance. It's a matter of.
And I like to think. I also know until America gears up its manufacturing capability, some of these parts are made in countries that may not have the same standards of steel, 314, blah, blah, blah. And so the way to counter it, I'm just mentioning it more than once, like I say, because it is such an important factor. And these machines are fantastic. I've had my machines now a couple of years, and I have nothing but great things to say. But when you talk about these two people of you, I don't know how many viewers may remember that I put on my show Dr. Zhang from China in March of 2020, where he's standing in the hospital with patients in China, and they are talking through about that. They're using this machine, same thing. It's using this machine, and that's the only thing that's giving them breathing results, and they're all feeling better. And that is the story. And it was completely taken away. No one ever really attacked me, but this was it was in the European Respiration Society conference in Europe. So they couldn't really control that information. It's a legitimate thing, but here you are, we're talking about the same thing. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. It's amazing to me, because this technology I've been passionate about it since the first day I looked up hydrogen. This, again, the guy on Maui that makes them was in the automobile business and test products and things. So he understood the value of hydrogen to be able to put into an automobile to lower the gas usage. In fact, I know you probably, and our friend Andrew Harold also, we're dealing in products that lower gas mileage. But the things that helped, that really grabbed me, was the health benefits. I even put a website up, and then I've really been into it. And then COVID came, and what? People aren't hearing about this? I couldn't believe it.
That brings up something. If you had to, people are, okay, so what is it good for? I mean, as you will see if you watch those videos on Rumble, again, it's Torso, TORSOE1 is the channel. It just stops COVID in its tracks. It is the studies. These are studies that you can find where scientists have studied, and hydrogen, and it tends to shrink cancer cells. So it's good as an anti-cancer approach. Even if a person is on chemotherapy, it lessens the damage that chemo does. Anything with the word itis in it, it helps, generally speaking, because
my website, I like to say, this works on every disease known to man. And I'm not saying it. Look at these thousands and thousands of articles. I don't profess anything. I'm just looking at results, real test results. That's way before any specific thing, that this in general, when you have hydrogen, that it combines with everything and can come out as water. Oh my goodness. In Japan, they call it shinuru, and they know about it. In China, they know about it everywhere around the world. In America, it's like, hydrogen? What do you mean, hydrogen? What do you mean? Has it passed yet? Has it passed the FDA? I don't know what that means, but FDA and such are protecting us. But there are things, I think of this as a natural solution. When lightning hits the water, it creates, what's it doing? Electricity on the water creates this same stuff. If you could take that and harness it, isn't that what we're doing here? What God has in mind, we're really getting the blessing all the ways.
Yes.
So what got you interested in this stuff? Did you have health challenges and just said, I'm going to get healthy? Because I was
a young man. I decided as a young man that God was leading me to do ministry. So I went to traditional pastoral type schools, but I realized that they were lacking in teaching us how Jesus ministered. He did more healing than he did preaching. So I took an unconventional route, started learning natural remedies, and no one taught me back then in my late teens, early 20s. I never knew that what I did as a profession even existed, but just step by step, the leading of God. I've been involved in what we call medical missionary work. And it's been wonderful. It's been just tremendous as far as fulfilling. And my wife and I are both working in it together, and that's a blessing too. So that's how I got started.
Well, I must tell you, and you must know, I got here in Maui in 1988. So you look like a very young man. I'm a 71-year-old guy. I have been blessed on being immersed in a culture here. Some people call it alternative. I call it there is no alternative. It's a natural lifestyle where people are healthy. Never mind the general climate, but I've been in a very healing community with herbs and oils and all kinds of, like you talk about getting getting your bowels cleansed out and all kinds of things and fasting. That's what this community here is like. Wow, you're jumped into a pool of healing community. And people come from all over the world here. And what you're sharing, I would like to see help our tourism industry embrace this and become a mecca, if you will, for alternative healing. And this is such an, this isn't even alternative. This could be embraced as the world already knows and be a hot spot for people to come for hydrogen treatments, and to also work with ministries like yourself and coordinating to share this message. I see that you, I like to, I would call it a franchise. What you do is information. It's like super important. It's like people talking about keeping carbon in the soil and how to double. We're talking about end times here, unless God has something different. Like every sign is saying, end of times, end of times. Are you going to do the right thing? How are you going to live here if you can't breathe? Maybe you need, so all these tools. You know, remember that one about the guys on his roof waiting for God to save him, and they bring a rowboat, and then they bring an airplane. They keep bringing things to help this poor guy. Well, that's where we are now. And what you're doing is you're bringing help. And I like to think that Maui, because of what it already is, can be a way to be that megaphone for important things. And this is right at the core of really important to me. I hope that you get calls and contacts. Should they email you, or best way? What's the best way? You think the phone call or?
Yeah, I mean, I would say phone call, but if they need to email, I can give them my email address.
Oh, please, please do. You don't mind. I'm going to put all this on screen so it's easy for people to get to.
Sure. So it's pastor, PASTOR,
right?
torso, TORSOE.org. pastor@torso.org.
Wow. You know, I just realized I have a friend I have a very small board at the Maui Arts and Music Association, but one of my board members is Reverend Rayfield Johnson. And it's just uncanny that I'm attracting people of such heart. I very much appreciate you taking the time to be with me and sharing with our audience.
We appreciate your passion for good health and helping the people there in Maui, Jason. That's
well, and I say from here, I'm running for council this time. I hope all kinds of people all over the world hear this and realize just how powerful a solution this can be for their life. No, we don't need a special disease to have benefit from something like this. This is for all seasons, the ability to have hydrogen delivered as HHO, either through a cannula or through water, you know, I mean, The other thing we've tried, you ever try encapsulation, where you put it into a bag, like you have a psoriasis cake, and you put an enclosure, and everyone says, wow, it's sort of super moisture. We're creating water through this process. They get it, and then suddenly everyone wants to think that they could try this. It always works. It's not anything magical. We just told you it's electrolysis of water. If you want to get a lightning storm and a bucket of water and a hose, go try it. It might be a little dangerous.
Absolutely.
Right, but wouldn't that be interesting?
I'm aware of those applications. We're going to be doing an application for somebody where they have some eye issues, and they have these goggles that have little holes in them, little tiny holes, and we're going to drill a hole that's about maybe 1/4 of an inch and come off the bubble cup and let that hose go in there, and so it can just but you always want to have a place of escape. So with those goggles, they have a little tiny holes. Some of the hydrogen will escape, but some of that will be bathing the eye. And it's been reported that people they have better eyesight. People with eye problems like glaucoma and cataracts tend to improve. So we're going to try that. But there's just so many applications. There's so much to learn.
But I love when you say that stuff, because, again, at my site, I used to have all these testimonials and sent them to Tyler LeBaron and the Hydrogen Institute and proved to them this works. Just think about it, people. It's 1 on the periodic chart. It can do miracles. It is a miracle, but it's a miracle of our whole universe. It's not some scientific secret. It's just we're being somehow directed to think that this is. So I'm so glad that these
I can say
machines.
this real quickly. You know, a lot of people who study natural healing, they know that an alkaline pH is helpful, and that leads us to more fruits and vegetables. But most people don't think about pH means the potency of hydrogen. Okay, now the machine such as this doesn't technically change the pH, but those of you with an electrical background, you know that electricity can be spoken of in voltage, which is the force of the electricity. It can be spoken of in amperage, which is the actual amount of electricity, or it could be spoken of in wattage, which is the power that the electricity offers. So you get the same benefits from the more potency of hydrogen just by adding pure hydrogen. So everything you always learn about an alkaline diet, and our body should be alkaline, you will get those same benefits just by breathing in or drinking hydrogen.
Isn't that amazing? Then just for our audience to understand, did you hear what he said? He said pH. We all hear pH all the time. Everyone uses it. That means potential hydrogen, right?
Right. Or the potency of hydrogen, or
potency.
Maybe spoken of different ways. But yeah.
Isn't that amazing? So there's that word in front of us. It's like, how do you hide something? Put it in plain sight.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. Thank you for joining me here today. I hope that our audience realizes how special this is and gives you a call or me a call. I'll direct it to you. But thank you for being part of, I call it my movement. My movement is the integration of everything, and there is no waste. And on an island, and how that all works and how it works in our bodies, I am what do they say, an atypical candidate. And I like to think that I'm doing nothing other than speaking humbly in my truth for so long, because it's just who I am. And it would be counterproductive if I didn't try to bring it up a level and share this more broadly. And you're a very great representative, and they can get this machine that'll help them. I'm very happy to have you here with me, and I hope our audience appreciates
the invitation. It's been a pleasure, a real pleasure.
Well, thank you all for joining us out there in radio, TV land, and internet land. Shelem, anything you'd like to let them know before we go?
No, it's just a privilege. We wish you a good day, a healthy day, and aloha.
Aloha, everyone. We will see you again.